Welcome to Secrets from the Scene, a show for local musicians who want to improve their music, grow their audience, and learn about Minnesota's music scene. If you're interested in talking about all things music related and meeting interesting people from our local community, you're in the right place. On today's episode, we have Arthur L.A. Buckner. He's a performing musician, teaching artist, and producer from the Northside of Minneapolis. He holds a master's degree in percussion performance from McNally Smith College of Music. Currently, L.A. is playing with his band Big Homie, teaching drums, and also serves as co-host for the two-time Webby award-winning PBS music education YouTube series Soundfield, a video project exploring the music theory, production, history, and culture behind our favorite songs and musical styles. Back in 2020, L.A. took iTunes by storm with the release of his project, also titled Big Homie, which reached #1 on the iTunes jazz charts. L.A. is a scholar and a master of all things percussion. He's proficient in many styles, including jazz, gospel, hip-hop, and rock. He's played with a list of local artists and bands too long to name. It would not be a stretch to say he's a local legend. Please welcome Arthur L.A. Buckner.
Thank you.
You need the clap track.
Tight. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's been fun to even just catch up a little bit this morning as we've been settling in to do this. And, you know, we met each other over a decade ago at this point, and you were still in school at that time.
Yeah. I pulled up to the house, to the studio. I was just like, oh, whoa, this is a blast from the past. Let's go. I did some of my first sessions in this room when I just got to McNally, and I probably only done maybe 2 or 3 recording sessions, but I remember recording a whole album in this very room.
Yeah.
It's really dope.
Shout out to the Credentials and Patrick, because I'm pretty sure that's how we would have met.
Absolutely. Patrick Vogel.
I wouldn't remember what the sessions are anymore, but you did some session work for me like really early on, and you did the 9 Tomorrow stuff with me, and yeah.
They call that cutting your teeth.
That's right.
Grinding.
For both of us, yeah. But it's been fun to watch your career develop. I mean, obviously you were super talented back then, but you know, only sharpening those skills and getting better and becoming a bigger name in the scene. And the Big Homie stuff is super impressive. I know that you're working on a new album now, and that's going to be coming out soon. But why don't you start by kind of taking us back to the beginning and walk us through your background, your journey in music, and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, my journey in music, I come from a musical family. I have a gift, though. You know, I was raised in church, in the black church, gospel music, which I think is one of the dopest training grounds for a performing musician. Mm-hmm. Mainly because, you know, the standard, you gotta be good to get up there and, you know, and play. And it's so much improvisation. It's so much following and learning on the spot. It's a wild, kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Is it incubator is the word I'm looking for? Like something is stirring up, you know, and then I'm ready. Like when I got to college, I had so much performance experience just playing in church every single week, playing multiple times in church every week. So like playing in front of 100 people, 500 people was no big deal. But some of my classmates, it was kind of a thing. But so like church is a amazing training ground for musicians, you know. So that's where I came from.
And there are a lot of musicians that come out of the church scene. A lot of crazy good musicians. And even now, there's a lot of musicians that are still supplementing their income doing the church gigs with the mega churches and 100%. The ones that have the paid bands and all that kind of stuff. I grew up going to church with my parents and that sort of thing, but there was no live music. This was like the old school,
Hey, low key at my church though, like we had music, but my home church, it was only me and a piano player, or me and the choir and the singers, or me, and I'm like 11. Oh, yeah? I was 11 when I became the drummer of my church. You know what I'm saying? So now, like when the sound is acting up at church now, or on a live performance, I feel at home. It's just like, oh yeah, I was raised on this. Like, let's go, come on, keep going. Show must go on.
When I say no live music, I mean there was live music. It was just like organ. There's no live drums. There was definitely never any drums. So it wasn't something that you sort of aspired to as a young kid. You know, it's like, this is not what I'm listening to.
I think people ask, what made you pick the drums? And it was just like, I didn't even pick the drums. I feel like I was chosen. The drums picked me.
Oh, interesting.
It's a gift. It's a gift from God. Anybody with any rhythm is a gift, right? But I'll be staring at the drums all service and nobody be even playing them. I'm 3 years old and I'm just like naturally drawn to them. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I came into it. Been playing my whole life in school and outside of school. I've just been playing. One thing I'm realizing is like we'll be able to make a living in this life, and I'll be able to provide for my family just being who I'm supposed to be, just playing the drums, right? Mm-hmm. I met a guy, his name is Papa Masamba. He did all the African drums in Black Panther, all the talking drum, all the djembe, all the African drumming in both Black Panther movies, right? Mm-hmm. He tours with Disney. He stays in 4-star hotels, first class, everywhere he goes. And he told me, he said, this is the only thing I've ever done in my life is play this drum. This is the only thing. All his children are super successful, doctors, engineers, attorneys. He lives with one of his children in the back cottage, like the dream, right? But he said, all I've ever done was play this drum. My whole family were known for this drum in Senegal. And I just I was talking to him, I was like, I'm going to be able to do that. Just being who I am. This is all I've ever done was play the drums. But he's able to live life on the fullest of experiences and the fullest scale, on the highest level, just being who you are. So I'm realizing all my favorite musicians that I look up to, like we talked about this a little earlier, they just never stopped. And they were able to reap the full benefits of their artistry, or that they're doing it on a mega level, just because they just never quit.
Yeah.
I really want that. That keeps me going. That's another battery I found that keep me inspired to keep creating, because it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll get there. We'll get there. Just keep doing you.
So you start playing in church. You're getting that experience. You're building your chops. When did you start doing like, hey, I got a band now kind of thing?
That's real. It was a long journey, and church was still with me all throughout that journey. But like even after music school, going to college and playing with a community choir during that time and getting a lot of out of school experience, performing at 3 or 4 different gigs in a day. I remember one Martin Luther King Day, we played at like a breakfast in the morning. We did like 2-3 rec centers or something like that at the end. I had an event at night. It was crazy. But like learning how to gig, right? Setting up drums and lugging drums, using my mom's car because I'm 19, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like getting drums to the gig, getting friends rides to the gig, like learning how to mini tour. You know what I'm saying? But like that was the experience that I got. Finished school, did a lot of playing, different ensembles, the music school thing. Mm-hmm. After school, I was playing with a funk band, playing with several different projects. At one point in time, I was playing with 13 different things, like rehearsing on the regular. Like, it's just way too much. But I had no wife, no kids, and I was still a student, living at the crib. Okay. So it's like, I can be stressed out with work, right? But I wasn't being fulfilled. I was playing everybody else's stuff and playing in rooms that I'm the only black dude there. Traveling to middle of nowhere, Iowa, playing at a bar with a Confederate flag in the window is just like, oh snap! I can't invite my people to come see me play. Like, I can't. I met a friend and they really changed my outlook on artistry and music and like being a student forever. Like no matter how dope you get, you still can learn from a beginner, and my perspective is altering and I'm learning how to write songs. My friends is helping me realize like, no, this is your song. Like this is an arrangement. Like this, boom, we're shedding at 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Like randomly, again, wasn't married yet, no kid, you know what I'm saying? But like honing the skills, writing with friends and rehearsing and recording voice memos over and over and over again. And just like those songs developing. And then I'm able to gather my troops and be like, yo, I want to record. I want to do this. And it's getting traction, going into the studio, recording. So I'm fast forwarding so many things, but like that's pretty much how it happened organically, creating with friends, realizing, living life, realizing like, you know what, if I'm going to be playing drums, I got to try to be happy while I'm doing it. I want my family and friends to enjoy this too. I do it for them, Yeah. As I'm learning who I am. That's how the whole Big Homie even came together. My calling in life is mentorship. That's what I'm realizing. Okay. And the vehicle is just the drums. It's just music, But like I'm teaching everywhere, and it's like Big Homie we're educators in that band too. So we do the whole educational thing. We do master classes, workshops, clinics, all of that. And college tour, we did a college tour just a couple months ago.
Okay.
So it's like the drums and the band, that's still the vehicle to that heavier impact, that deeper conversation, or that, that inspiring word that I get to have with whoever, And your big homies can be younger than you. They could be older than you. It could be whatever, It's just a term of endearment, pretty much. It's like anybody that's showing you something, showing you the way.
Yeah.
Teaching anything.
Okay, I wanna break down some of this along the way here, but then let's talk about Big Homie some more. You went to McNally, and is that 4 years?
Yeah, I went for 4 years, and then they gave me a scholarship for 2 more years for the master's.
Oh, nice. That's right. Yeah, you have your master's. So you did that process. Obviously, you're playing in all the ensembles. You're starting to be a gigging drummer, so you're playing in more bands, I'm sure, throughout that time. It sounds like from that story that the first time you feel like you're in a serious band that's like important to you is when you start doing your own thing.
Yeah. Everything I was in was important to me at the time. You know what I'm saying?
You were a professional, but
yeah, I'm a professional. Yeah, but like this was really this stuff means something.
But that felt like a new chapter.
It's a new chapter.
Now I'm doing this.
It was a new chapter.
When you sort of discover that in order for this to be something that you can sustain and really put in that effort, it needed to be the thing that would fulfill you.
And it's like, I wanted to be challenged a lot. And I want all my homies, all my friends around me who were playing with me or working, collaborating with me, I want them to be challenged as well. Because when we're all being challenged, like the level is raising. It's raising higher. And that's really a huge aspect of it too. So I want to be pushed. And if I can't find a push, I got to create the push.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious just from like what your mindset was, because right now it feels, at least from an outsider's perspective, you sort of equally pursue the creation of your own music as an artist, as a drummer, but also as being a teacher. And as you said, being a mentor. So where was your mind when you were going to college and that sort of thing? Were you thinking, I'm going to get into this and be a teacher? Or was it always, I want to do both?
Yo, that's a great question, because even as a kid, I remember in 4th grade, really wanting to be a drummer and really wanting to be a teacher.
Okay.
And those were the main 2 answers I had. And I started leaning more towards drummer. I remember I was going to the 6th grade. It was summertime. I was in a summer program, and we did this activity. Everybody's going to say what they want to be when they grow up, right? So everybody's around the room like, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, this, that, and the other. It's my turn. I'm like, all right, when I grow up, I want to be a musician. I want to be a drummer. I want to travel the world. I want to play for thousands of people and blah, blah, all this. And the leader of the program, she said, a drummer? You ain't gonna make no money doing that. You got to find something else to do. I was like, oh, okay. So I was like,
that's brutal.
But it sent me on a journey for other things that I was interested in. Now, in retrospect, I'm kind of grateful for that moment, because I'm learning, which is a secret, right? To everything we do, Steve, everything you do, from the podcasting to the engineering, producing, musicianship, even being a husband, even being a family person.
Yeah.
It's all one thing. It's all the same. It all works together. Who we are, everything we love, everything that we're interested in, me, the drumming, the teaching, the mentorship, creativity behind cooking, the way I'm a father, it's all works together as one thing.
Yeah.
That's what Max Roach said. His activism, his drumming, why he wrote the songs he wrote, it's all tied in of who we are. That's just being an artist. Is just trying to perfect being. Because everything you are interested in, it's all connected. It's all one thing. It's all together. Everything we are, I keep repeating it, but like I find more examples of that every day. Everything that we're interested in, even with like content creating or whatever, like capture the natural stuff that you would do any day. You know what I'm saying? Like this conversation, we would have this conversation. But since these cameras are here, we're capitalizing on the natural.
Yeah, sharing
the natural conversation, the natural learning that we're doing. Even some of the best TikTok material, it's like people in their natural.
Oh, I agree.
Element.
The more authentic it is to you, the better the content is usually.
People are going to connect with that.
Yeah.
The natural. I don't know if natural is the best word, but authentic, I would say. Authentic. The real, the personal. But yeah, that's just one thing that's a reoccurring thing that I've been thinking about over and over the last few months. It's just like, because everything we do, it all works together as one thing.
I couldn't agree more. And it feels so simple, right? But it's not.
It's complex.
It's complex. And I think the more that we can keep searching for your own authentic thing and how it ties into every piece of your life and that they work together. Because what can often happen is you get out of balance and one thing is not working towards the whole anymore because maybe your work takes over your family life. For instance, that's a classic one. You alluded to this earlier where you had a realization at a young age that, hey, if this is going to continue and work, I need to be playing for the audiences that I want to be playing. I need to be making the kind of art that I want to be playing, or it's not going to be sustainable. That's not an easy thing. I mean, obviously, hindsight's always 20/20. And we go, yeah, of course.
But like actually leaving all of those projects was not an easy thing.
Exactly.
Having all those conversations and people feeling like friendships may possibly be terminated, but at the same time, like they understand. I get it. You got to do your thing. I get it. I know it's going to be banging. I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but that was very difficult to even. And I was married by this time, newlywed. But even my wife can attest. Like that was a huge, like a personal battle for me. You know, and actually that was part of the narrative of the first album. Like actually breaking away from these other projects that I couldn't really express myself and finding my own voice, really giving my vulnerable truth, you know, out there. Mm-hmm. That was part of that narrative of the first album. So like my emergence really came from that separation and finding that balance. And that's another thing that Max Roach was talking about. Everything we do is all together, but we have to give more to certain things at certain times, but it's all still serving each other though.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the Big Homie project. Walk me through what this new album is all about and what you're doing in terms of content to promote it.
For sure.
What the band looks like, even the process of how you make these records.
The new record is called Northside, referring to the Northside of Minneapolis, spelled with an F, Northside, right? It's a rich Black culture that comes from Minneapolis, North Minneapolis specifically. Musically, Prince, Morris Day and the Time, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Jelly Bean Johnson, like all those cats went to my high school, North High School, you know, that there's a Minneapolis sound that the world loves. You just listen to Uptown Funk, listen to others, you'll find it everywhere. I say this probably once, 2 times a month, probably. Oh, everybody love Minneapolis. Oh, everybody trying to sound like Minneapolis. I'll hear something on the radio or hear something in the video or whatever. It's like, oh, Minneapolis. They trying to do the Minneapolis thing. But like, so that it's a very rich Black culture that comes from Minneapolis. And I want to represent that. I want to beat that on my chest, right? I sound like Minneapolis. I sound like the North Side. We have a song called North Side. Well, what does that mean? It was one of the most beautiful songs and most beautiful melodies that you'll hear in the beginning, but then it gets real different, real funky, it gets real, real spicy, right? It's just like the North Side of Minneapolis, one of the most beautiful communities. We respect the elders. We love the elders. We love education, North Side. But then there's some pockets where it can get real different. It gets real hood, you know, it can get active. But the song reflects that, you know. I'm trying to do something new. I read Herbie Hancock's book, and with all of his albums, he was trying to do something completely in the opposite direction of the last thing he did. All right, I got something new. It's bigger. I think it's better than the first joint. 10 tunes. The configuration of Big Homie is myself on drums. I got my cousin Jamani Buckner on percussion. He grew up playing in church too. David Smith on keyboards. He's a producer extraordinaire from the city, from Minneapolis, or from Woodbury, but he's from the Twin Cities, surrounding areas, you know. Producer extraordinaire. He did live arrangements for 100 mainstream artists, just arranging their stuff for their tours. Like, hey, we need an intro, a transition between this song, and then like an outro for the whole set. And cool. he was in his dorm room just doing it all, like killing it. I got David Feely on guitar, one of the coldest guitarists in the city. Ethan Yeshaya on the bass, one of my brothers from McNally back in the day. Jovan Williams on woodwinds, one of my students from SPCPA, St. Paul Conservatory for the Performing Arts. I met Jovan when he was 16, about to turn 17. The first time we played together, it was just like, oh, this is different. This is fireworks. Even though all the students could tell, it was like, whoa. So like he's 20 now, but he been playing with me for like a year and a half now. But like there's a huge educational component, a huge Big Homie component within the band too. You know, my cousin, he's 26, but he told me, he's like, bro, I never even imagined like this music thing could be another stream of revenue for me. He always played percussion as a hobby or just as helping in church or whatever. But like, he's down with me. He's seeing like we got rehearsals through the week. Like it's actually work. His wife came to rehearsal recently and she was looking around and she was like, this is so freeing. This is so therapeutic. You guys do this for work. This is your job right now. You guys are at work. And it was just like, dang, yeah, it is a privilege to even be an artist.
Absolutely.
And like be in the vibe. We had the lights going, and it's 11 a.m. You know what I'm saying? We had the lights going, we had the music blasting loud, rehearsing, intense, sweating, like lit. But the moments like that makes me grateful that I could be an artist, you know. And this album, all the work that goes into it, meeting with all these graphic designers trying to design merch and videographers trying to do ads. We're going to push ads on YouTube and on Facebook ads and just trying to promote different, you know, I want to tour. I want to do a release show in New York, one in the Bay. I'm trying to really get out here. It's really grassroots. It's the independent grind here in Minneapolis, as we were talking about a little earlier. It's the independent grind here. So I'm just trying to do something new to get new results. You know, my first release, it went #1 on iTunes, which was a total surprise. You know, it was a huge blessing, but I'm trying to put a little more work behind this one and try to get a little more.
Yeah. I want to circle back to the iTunes thing, but let's dig into the making of the record. The arrangements are crazy.
Wild.
They're great. And, you know, you're a frontman drummer, essentially, and then you have somewhat of a rotating lineup. I know that this is a little different lineup than the
But that was
earlier
always
one.
the vision for my band too. I saw how Snarky Puppy had different cats on drums, different, but they were still in the band. It's like, you know what? I want to play with a whole bunch of people too.
Yeah.
Like, so L.A. Buckner and Big Homie is going to be the homies, you know?
Yeah.
And whoever's in it right there, that's who we're going to have, you know? But how the songs come together.
Yeah. Talk to me about how the arrangements are made.
I sing every tiny little part I can into my voice memos.
Oh, I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Whenever inspiration strikes, sidebar for artists and songwriters and composers and musicians, when you hear the song, even if it's 4 a.m. and you half sleep, grab your phone and just record. Fight the sleep, because you're not going to remember that idea when you wake up. You're not going to remember. I done lost string quartet arrangements. I done lost beautiful songs because I didn't get up and sing it into the phone and record it. All right. So it goes from the phone into Logic. I created a demo track, a little drum loop, play my auxiliary keys, all my piano. I play with these fingers, just, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Layering. I be cheating on the MIDI.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? My demos have gotten a lot better since I started to, you know, more sounds, more. I'll share that with the band. All right, y'all, study this for rehearsal. Boom. And then they'll come to rehearsal knowing and making my little fake piano parts sound like some for real piano. It's just like, like that. They add in their flavor to it. I realized, you know, I can't do none of this without the homies, you know, without my crew. Just like you show love to LeBron, he always reflects the love back to his people because it's like, I can't do it without.
It's a team.
It's a team effort. I just happen to be the face. It's just my name on it. But like David Feely and just his production skills. Now, this music sounds massive. I want to say that. We have a song called Vengeance. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. It's an original. I wrote it. And, you know, I was playing it for about a year. And then I just stopped playing it because it wasn't sounding the way I wanted to sound. It wasn't emotionally big enough. We hadn't shed it enough. We hadn't had enough reps on it. Okay. Now it sounds massive. It sounds like some Armageddon type video game, cinematic type music, you know. That's going to be one of the singles too that we're going to push. But I'm excited because all the homies, they're able to add the fireworks to these productions. And it's like my next record, or maybe when Big Homie's on a break or whatever, my next thing I do, it got to be completely different. It got to be stripped down. It got to be... You know, because
we'll keep changing it up.
We got to keep changing it up.
That's the challenge.
I'm really pumped about this record. I was excited about the last one. This one is just bigger. I've gotten better. Things have gotten better.
You said something earlier I wanted to circle back to with Big Homie, the band. You pointed out that the meaning of Big Homie is like your mentorships, how you educate people, and that you had done a college tour, and part of that component was doing like workshops.
Oh yeah, totally.
Tell me about that.
We kind of like let the audience in on the rehearsal process. And like my whole goal is to like just show students who are interested how to be in a band, how it works. Yeah. And the respect that we all have for each other and how we work out conflict. We went to Eau Claire. Well, we did a tour. We went to Michigan Technological University with one of my old teachers, Adam Meckler. We did a clinic for his students. We played at an elementary school early that morning. We did a gala event at night. And then the next day we went to University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. And I was
Big jazz program.
Nice jazz program. Yeah. Great jazz program. Aaron Hedenstrom is the teacher, horn player from here in the cities. I was expecting maybe 12 students to show up, and 40 kids showed up to the master class. And it was a dope performance, but it was like a bunch of Q&A. The questions were awesome. it was a hang. And then like after the performance and we're asking questions about what just happened and all that, the most important portion of all of that was when we're tearing down instruments and like all the students get to chop it up and talk. And like all the drummers came over to me, women and men came over to me and asked all kind of great questions. Like you got the real personal nuggets, the networking portion, all the Instagrams and, oh yeah, we're definitely coming to the show. That was the most important part. Or even I do these jam sessions, right, at McPhail. I host jam sessions and I have all these young musicians coming out, just collabing together. But like the music is secondary to the connecting piece, to the networking, to the vibes, to like y'all starting y'all's own projects because y'all met here. You know, that's the bigger impact. And so Big Homie is really just a vehicle to making those connecting, networking impacts, that mentorship kind of relationship kind of thing.
So these master classes through the schools, you're doing a college tour so that's connected to programs, the music programs. Was that something that you thought of, or did that kind of naturally happen because you got asked to do it? Or
that's something I always wanted to do. And one of the band members, he is our administrative guru. The term is music business, right? Business is a bigger word than music. My teacher Solomon tells me that business is a bigger word. So you really got to spend time on that business. The music's going to be there. We all love our art. We're going to perform. We're going to play. It's going to sound good.
Yeah.
That business portion, you know, and David Feely, we call him Pops. We call him Gramps, Unc, because he's older. He's been doing this on a high level for a long time. He always pushing me to update the website, bro. Did you call back about the interview? He's the administrative guru. And he's the one that was like, yo, we should try to capitalize on this gig. You know, try to hit up another college, see if we stop at Eau Claire on the way home. He's talking all extra fast. Like, that's how he does. But, you know, he's a teacher as well. And it helps to have a crew who can catch the vision and then push me in the vision, push you in like areas where I made a blind spot, a blind area. You know, it helps to have somebody who's down with the vision, pushing the business portion as well, you know, helping me get right with all of that.
Yeah.
The business, even like reaching out to different booking agents, put the draft into ChatGPT and get the good words, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a nonstop grind. And I realized working on the album, releasing the album, this could be a full-time job, depending on what you put into it.
Yeah.
But that the business portion and the administrative, that plays a whole play into it as well. That's how gigs come up because, you know, Feely is pushing to capitalize on these experiences.
That's really awesome that you have somebody that's willing to take a lot of that burden off of your shoulders. Obviously, you're doing a ton as well, but you know, I think a lot of people hope for that in a way that it's like not good, because in the end of the day, if you don't have that person, then you have to do it yourself no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have met David again a long time ago through some jam band he was playing in at the time. Who knows which one anymore.
He's still the busiest person I know, for sure. Every gig I ask David Feely to do, he has to sub out something else because it's already booked. Like that's how it is.
That's awesome. Okay, so the record's coming out, you're making new content, you're working on the branding to get a narrative down for this new project. Talk to me about the narrative and how you think of that, how you approach it, how do you deliver it to the world?
That's real. The narrative is what makes the audience like the music. If they know what it's about, I mean, the sound, it could sound really cool, but like it solidifies, you know, like they'll come back because they feel connected to the story of it. You know what I mean? This narrative, I feel like we got to take pride in where we come from, no matter where it is, because that's essentially, you know, we're byproducts of our environments, you know? And I really want to do something new in jazz culture. In hip hop culture, everything is about where you're from. Where you're from is such a huge aspect, and it's like it's an aspect of pride, you know, taking pride in where you come from. And it's just like I want to bring that to jazz music. Even my visuals, like I want to look like a rapper, but I'm a jazz drummer. It's kind of confusing, but it's like I think there's something that I really appreciate about that aesthetic, and just doing something different, you know, for the genre. I'm trying to find the common thread for all the stuff too, because a lot of these songs come from different places. You know, I'm still lamenting in some of my music. I want to shine light on Minneapolis because I want to express what it's like to be black in this city. Okay, we're just going to get to it. I want to express what it's like to be a black person in the city. And the best way I do that is musically. That's why my music sounds so intense sometimes, or it's so large or expressive, because that's the outlet, you know. It's a peculiar experience being black in Minnesota. 6 international police killings have happened in Minnesota. Now, musician homies here, Minneapolis, oh, you careful out there. That's what George Floyd happened. No, you got to watch out out there. Like, people know now about the city, but like I want to express my feelings about that musically and also show the beauty of Minneapolis, though. and show the rich Black culture and the talent and the skill level. And what we really doing here is different than the rest of the world. Musicians from all over the world on tour come here and see that we be, for lack of better terms, we be killing up here musically, right? But I just want to show that. I want to broadcast that because, you know, it's time for a resurgence. It's a lot of responsibility, low key.
Yeah.
You know, I'm ready for that. And I want the jazz world to know about the Northside of Minneapolis too. It's not just the funk. It's not just the punk rock, because our punk rock scene was heavy back in the day too. The Replacements, Chris Osgood played with them. I don't remember the name. Husker Du. We had a real thing. Minneapolis has a real strong musical culture, and it's not dead. It's not gone. And that's really what this album is about. It's like putting on for my city, especially the North Side.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the narrative I'm gonna push for this.
And how do you go about communicating the narrative in terms of your content and that sort of thing?
That's real. Visually, hinting, you know, the album cover, I got this graphic design album cover. It's a huge drumzilla taking over the city, destroying the city with his drum body, right? And you see it's the city of Minneapolis. You see it. You know what I'm saying? So that's more of like a little hidden kind of thing. Sure. But just saying the name Minneapolis, bro, like letting it be known. Every YouTube video, this is where we from. Every interview I get, every podcast I get to do, putting on for Minneapolis, especially the North Side. And you never know who's connected to your city. One of the biggest musicians in the world right now, Terrace Martin. He produced for Kendrick Lamar, toured with Herbie Hancock. He's a jazz musician, saxophone player, super dope. But he lived in Minneapolis for years, you know, on and off for about 9 years. His pops lived here. So he would visit his dad here all the time. He was talking about Cub chicken and Cub donuts. He was talking about shoveling snow here. He talking about all the street. Like, he's one of the biggest musicians in the world, biggest connected networking cats ever.
Yeah.
But he has a real special tie to Minneapolis, you know, and I just want to show love to my city too. People say, you can call it your city? I'm like, yes, I call it my city, because like I'm one of the most North Side people you're gonna meet. Yeah. Whatever that means.
There's so much that I want to get into about some of the last things you said, but before we move on from Big Homie and the next release, I think people would be mad if they didn't hear a little bit about the story about the iTunes on your last release going #1. Like, what was that like? How did it happen?
I think my support system, my family, my crew, really people hearing about it, going to buy it, going to purchase it on iTunes, purchasing. Yeah. Instead of just streaming, it's that network, it's that word of mouth, it's that connecting. I think the Soundfield thing helped. Also playing the numbers game. You know, I got some help from some people who have a better idea of the numbers game. He was like, you know what? Try this. I got a checklist from my buddy Scott Harold, a checklist of all these things that you should do if you're trying to release an album. It was 10 things. I crossed off 8 of them. And I think some of that worked. I think it worked.
Well, what were some examples?
Okay. Registering with the PRO, Performing Arts Organization, sure. Putting the songs on a sound scan, or you make sure you got your codes and basic things that need to be done.
Basic registration, right? Yeah.
But I think some of the support from Soundfield definitely helped the album reach some success. Community support from the city, really, and like influencers speaking up about it too. Yeah, influencers that I know. You know, there's an artist from here, from Minneapolis, Javante Patton, a gospel artist who is doing what nobody in Minneapolis has ever done in gospel, in our genre, really, in any genre. But as an independent artist, he has 5 or 6 #1s on Billboard. Wow. You know, his album just went #1. The one he just released last year just went #1 on Billboard. So like, he plays the marketing game. He's not really even focused on advertising to Minnesota. His ads and his radio tour that he does is all over the world, really, all over all these other cities. So it's like, it's the independent grind though that we keep going back to. That's the culture here in Minneapolis, is the independent thing. He helped with some ideas. He's still helping me with ideas too, where I should focus my ads. Like, somebody who spends that much time playing the game of the numbers game and watching the charts and seeing what artist is releasing when. So I don't want to put mine out because I don't want to compete with them, and they're boom, boom. It's literally reading analytics and spending more time on your analytics than on your timeline scrolling. You know what I'm saying? That's the work that goes into it. Yeah. And seeing what's popular and then putting more money behind the popular ad or whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's what I think did the iTunes thing too. Just the networking, the people connecting and people buying it, you know?
Yeah. Were you doing ads at that time?
I wasn't doing no ads at that time.
So a lot of that was still just your network, your support.
Just people, grassroots, yeah.
People shouting it out and sharing it, and then just getting a surge of support to push
And then
it.
I think jazz numbers are much different than hip hop or pop numbers.
Sure.
You know,
you may not need to have as many
physical sales to make an impact. You know what I'm saying? But still, it worked though. People was buying that joint.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm super grateful. I'm super grateful for that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was. I was just like, what the heck is this? I had to screenshot it to make sure it was real. I was just like, whoa. I was in a lesson. I was in a lesson with like 3 of the little homies as I was getting the news, and I was like, oh snap, that's crazy. But I just went back to teaching. I was like, all right, cool, let's get it.
Yeah.
Like everything you do is all one thing. It's all works together. Like we're just balancing in the different areas.
Well, let's use that as a segue to talk about your teaching a little bit more. You know, you had mentioned Soundfield, but for people that don't know Soundfield, can you walk them through what that program is?
It is a series of mini documentaries, music education mini series. You can find it on YouTube, but PBS Soundfield. We ask and investigate all kinds of questions like who invented trap music? How did James Brown invent funk? Or like, what are the differences between a classical musician and an improvisational jazz musician? Or we talk about theories and all kind of history. And what's really cool about this show is I'm the host, right? So I'm learning all the information as I'm presenting it, as I have to memorize these paragraphs and this information. So it was a huge educational experience for me. People think I'm writing these facts. I'm like, no. This is not my research. It's 7 different people writing the script. It's 7 different researchers. Like this goes through so many hands before it comes to me. I just present it. You know, I present it in a relatable way.
You teach it.
I teach it. Teach something that I'm still learning. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a great show.
Bro, I agree. I would like it even if I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's a great experience. It's opening mad doors. And the coolest thing that happens is like if I go to NAMM or something, I can like say what's up to like my favorite musician and they'll kind of be like, yeah, you do the videos. Yeah. like, yeah, what's up? So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's really helped me with my networking. It's been opening mad doors for me.
Yeah.
Oh, with PBS, I spoke at this panel, right? I met Herbie Hancock. I got to meet Herbie. Like he's like the Miles Davis of our generation.
Yeah.
Like, changed music several times over. But yeah, I got to kick it and chop it up with Herbie for a nice little 10 minutes. Just kick it, got a picture with him. But like, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Herbie been locked in with PBS for years, since the 70s.
Yeah.
You know? So the doors that's opening, it's always been, I'm just super grateful for that. And you know, we're on a pause right now, but like we can be on pause for a few months at a time. Then episodes come out of nowhere, and I'm back recording. I still got all my gear, my camera, just waiting for the next ideas to pop up.
Well, 2 questions. One is, how did you get the opportunity? How did it happen? And then how has making that content changed how you make content now for your own project?
Word. I got that opportunity, a random call. Okay, I played drums on an album for a friend of mine, my friend Toussaint Morrison. He hosted a different show for PBS called America from Scratch. And it's still on YouTube. You can go check that out. But they called him. It was like, hey, we need a musician to host a music education mini doc series. When he called me and they told me what it was to host a show, I thought it was like a one-time event. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it. And then I show up to the meeting, and it's like a boardroom full of people. They flew folks in from Canada, from New York, from DC. It's cater food. I'm like, oh, they're like, no, we want to do a series. Like, it's a music education show, like multiple episodes. I'm like, yo, this is dope. I'm down. Let's do it. And I met Nare. Nare's the truth. Nare Soul. She was the first co-host that I worked with. She'll sell out orchestra halls all over the world, solo piano. Like, she's dope. Right? Oh,
wow. Yeah.
And now the second co-host we had was Linda Diaz. She was the Tiny Desk winner during COVID year, I think. She's an amazing host as well. But like, we just get these musicians who can relay this information in a cool way and can kind of like verify, like, I wouldn't say it like that all the way. I would say it like this, like,
okay,
you know. So, but the way I create content, I realize creating with Soundfield or just like recording into the camera, it's so similar to drumming. It's so similar to recording drums.
All right, say more about that.
Which is my favorite way to work to make money, is like recording in the studio, right? But it's like you have this information that you want to convey. You might be reading this information, or you might be hearing this information, and now you have to perform, right? But then like, I could do that way better. Okay, different take. Do it again, and you see it. You see the changes. You see the growth per take. But everybody knows exactly when the one is that one. You know what I'm saying? Like after each one, the good one, both me and the producer is just like, yeah, that was it. Next part. Here we go. It's just like drumming. Like working with the producer, you're constantly grading yourself and seeing where it could be better until you're satisfied with the product.
It's
And then
still a
you move on.
performance.
It's a performance
Yeah.
still. Yeah. It made me more confident in speaking arenas. I realized that is a slight form of journalism. Since I was told I couldn't be a drummer and we're going to 6th grade, I said I was going to be a sports broadcaster, a sports journalist. You know what I'm saying? So I still got to do my journalism thing a
Right.
little bit. One of the last conversations I had with my grandmother, she said, "You need to be using that voice some more." She said, "It's a shame you got all that talent. You just sitting behind them drums the whole time." I was like, "Granny, okay." But no, she was right though. She was right. I got to use this voice. I got to use it. She wanted me to sing. I ain't comfortable doing that yet. I love singing.
I don't know if I've heard you sing.
I
don't think so.
Nobody's heard me sing.
Yeah.
But I'm fire. But like, I'm not going to do that, bro. Like, no, it's too much work. It's so hard. Yeah, Soundfields gave me a chance to use my voice, and the way I create content now is just like, okay, if it ain't on a certain level, I'm not even sharing it. I'm not even releasing it, like, because it's a standard, that people used to seeing. So I want to make sure it's up to par, but the quality, it really made me ensure the quality of my performance. Like seeing, like, I'm recording this stuff. When COVID hit, I start recording Soundfields in my basement. You know what I'm saying? Just like changing up the design. I got 100 drums in my basement. So I'll just move drums around for another background and just like, okay, just trying to do something else. But like, we was grinding, but they made that stuff look like amazing. It was just like, you know what? It could be done. Even from this little tiny room. Like, we can capture this. We can do this. So it gave me some more confidence. Speaking gave me more confidence just to get it out there and record. And so, yeah.
I'm impressed by the content. I think it's really great. I would say, though, too, that as much as it's nice to make the content look as good as possible, that there's definitely a desire for the raw stuff, too.
For the raw.
Yeah. I think particularly newer generation, too, right now, like they can almost prefer, in a lot of ways, the stuff that looks more off the cuff.
Yo.
Not produced, not edited well, not looking well, because it feels more authentic.
I'm learning, like, musically, too. Like, it don't even take all of this extra... Now, my bandmates, they hate when I get to this. They hate when I get here. But it's just like, fam, my favorite bass player, Mono Neon, he got like 14 albums out. And like, they sound like they just, and like, there's a decent mix on them, but it's like, it sounds raw and raunchy and crunchy and gritty. Or like, this song got this many million plays and it was recorded on an iPhone. It was recorded in somebody's bathroom and just raggedy. It doesn't really even matter. Like, people trying to make it sound trashy, but in the grand scheme, like, it don't matter. Yeah, you can tell between a $6,000 mic and then a $200 mic. You can tell the difference. But like, it don't matter. Like, put that art out, bro.
Yeah, it's a balance, and
it's a balance.
I struggle with that too because from an artistic standpoint, I enjoy making it sound good. I want the content to be good, and as a teacher, to be presented in the most succinct way, maximize the educational value, those kind of things. So you struggle with that desire of perfectionism, wanting it to be a really good representation. But we also just need to be creating and putting things out.
At a certain point, we got to let the perfectionism go and just put that thing out, because it's going to help somebody, and we prolonging the inspiration if we waiting on it.
The conversation I've had with artists that come through here is I often say, you don't have to pick. You can do both. Sometimes life is going to pick for you because maybe you can't get that nice microphone or that nice camera yet.
Word.
And you got to work with what you got.
Totally.
And move forward. But maybe you do have the budget to either go into a studio and make a really professional record or set up a great camera and great mic to make high quality content online, whatever. But it doesn't always have to be one or the other. Just because now that you can get into a studio and do a studio record, it doesn't mean that everything you put out has to be that,
I love that.
What
that's
matters,
encouraging me right now. That's inspiring right now. That's
because what matters is the connection between you and your audience, you and your community. And that can happen in multiple formats. Back in the day, you had the studio records, and then we might have some live records or some bootlegs that would get recorded and released and things like that. And the
bootlegs be having a fire on them.
And some fans think that's their best work.
I love the bootleg stuff.
So I think it's just a matter of being confident in what you're doing. In yourself and being willing to capture as much of it as you can and decide this is the stuff that I want to be produced and this is the stuff that can be raw. Yeah. And people will probably like both sides of it.
That's real.
For different reasons.
That's encouraging, man. That's great. That's great. Because I like, even with after this after the Northside release, I'm thinking about my next record and just like the risks that I want to take, or like the differences in the sound. My favorite drummer just released a record. And like he's singing and yelling, screaming. It sounds so crazy. You can't even understand what he's saying, but it's so dope. I love it. I love it. It's wild. It's not nothing like anything I would make, but I dig it so much. Like I appreciate it. And it's expanding my mind. You know what? It's important to have friends that put you onto weird music. Okay? Music that you would consider strange or music that you wouldn't even give any attention to. I have a couple friends. I have a cousin and a good friend of mine, this artist I played with, Thomas. I'm realizing like so much inspiration comes from what we thought was whack, what we thought was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then like really seeing the art behind it. Actually, he's one of my friends. He's an amazing drummer, super good drummer. But like he'll show love and react to like my 8-year-old student who's not really doing what he's trying to do all the way, but we can hear where he's trying to go. It's just like, ooh, let's kill it. So like he's this super advanced drummer, but he's still learning from this kid. You know, so he can see the art in almost anything. So like I try to challenge myself with that. Like I played some really crazy, violent, raunchy lyrics for my buddy, right? Just trying to, it's a spoof video.
Yeah.
But the first thing he says, he was just like, but do you hear how the beat is lining up? The beat is killing though. The beat, I was just like, he still found the art. In this crazy video, he still found the art. So like I challenge myself to like listen to as much weird textural stuff as possible to try to appreciate the art.
I love that. And I want to go deeper into that because it translates in everything. And a little bit before, we were kind of talking about mindset of stuff, you know, and like everything can be a win as long as you have the right mindset for it.
Yeah.
If you try something, you take a risk and it fails, well, now you learned what not to do. You got lessons, you know. That's kind of the same thing as this. Whereas no matter what you look at, no matter what you hear, decide to find the art in it, right? Here's something, I'm sure you have this happen all the time too, where people hear something or are complaining about new music that comes out. Like, I don't know why this is any good. Like, why does anybody like so-and-so,
Right.
you know? And it's like, well, listen to it and find the art in it because somebody else is. That's why they're popular, right? They might be popular also for other reasons, celebrity and, you know, virality of different reasons. But point is something connected with people.
Yeah.
And find what that was.
And really, when you see that something connecting with folks, it inspires me. It inspires me to like, go ahead and write your music. If that's what came to you, if that's the idea you got, build that idea. You know, it's not too much. It won't be too weird because like Animals as leaders, they got crazy following. Hundreds of thousands of people get down to that difficult music.
Yeah,
that is
exactly
the most calculated kind of stuff I've ever heard, right? But it's just like people find the art in it. So it's encouraging to see the death grips. You know what I'm saying? It's like how people really vibe with.
In fact, a lot now with as many choices that we have, the more niche and specific and strange it is, you can almost find your audience easier because it's like, okay, that is so specifically for me. I love how weird that is or whatever.
One thing that I heard that I'm trying to subscribe to is instead of trying to appeal to the masses, right, to the whole mainstream, just like find your niche, find your crowd, your specific crew that's going to rock with what you do. Like that's where the success lies. It's like the specific folks, the ones, not everywhere. Like that's way harder of a game. But like that specific crew, the Patreon crew, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly about that. Finding your community, finding your corner of the internet that loves the shit that you're doing. Because if you are trying to appeal to everybody, most likely you're appealing to no one. It's okay if what you're making turns some people off. It probably means that you're on to the right thing, that you're getting specific enough now. Even like this podcast, right? I could have easily said, this is just going to be any independent musician. It's just going to be all artists. But I specifically want it to be, no, it's just going to be Minnesota.
Wow.
And just the people in the city doing stuff here. Right. I don't care if anybody outside of the city finds that it's not useful anymore or whatever, you know? Like, I want to narrow it down. That's part of being more niche. Just exclude people. It's like, fine, this isn't for you. Because the people that it is for feel like it's more special to them. I want to get back to some of the stuff that we were talking about earlier, and it's come through a lot of the, you know, different threads to these conversations, but the community, right? Your community started, I think, pretty clearly through the church and growing up, learning your music there, getting opportunities to gig through that. But you've obviously been able to just expand, and keep meeting more and more musicians.
Totally.
How much effort is that for you? Or has it always come natural? Like, how do you look at your networking, community?
I love that. That's a dope question.
How do you maintain those relationships? How do you expand them?
Man, I heard in an interview, a very controversial brother, he said, relationships is the best currency. He said, relationships better than any money. When you have the right relationship, you don't even need money. Realizing that is just like, totally, this is what it's all about. It's the connection, right? Every gig that I've had after school has come from some person, one way or another, at the school, from McNally. I tell all my students now, or any college student I come in contact with now, your college experience is not about your grades or test scores or cramming all night for homework or summa cum laude or it's not about none of that. Your GPA, no, it doesn't matter. It's about your homies. It's about your friends. It's about becoming friends with your teachers and is eventually becoming colleagues. It's about visiting your teacher in the office hours and borrowing a book from them or what recipe they trying, or it's about the personal connection. It's not about the subject matter and the stuff. Like, you can learn that on your own. You can learn that from YouTube anywhere, Okay, a lot of people need school, like attorneys and doctors and engineers. We get it. But still, even those fields are all relationship based too. Anybody can do the job, but how you going to get in that position? It's the relationships. It's the kicking it. It's being cool. Not too cool like this, but being cool, like being easy to talk to, trying to just being yourself, just being cool, being comfortable in your weirdness, everybody a little bit weird, in every circle. So it's like the networking portion. I realized that's where the gigs come from. It's like the hang, the relationships. Relationships is the main thing we get into. The music is secondary to the relationship.
I agree. And I think particularly, again, going back to when it's an independent scene and you're out there, it's your opportunities are going to come through your network. I mean, the common phrase you hear is your net worth is your network. Your network is your net worth. Either way, every musician that I know, that rings true for him.
Bro, like, even we worked together 10 plus years ago. And then I saw your number today and I saw the association with the old band. I was just like, yo, oh, this is a vibe. Yeah, let's do it. Like, we back here. It's a full circle. And like, our city's so small, even though it's a big city, but like, it's totally small. So it's like, things can happen. We'll be working together. I'm sure this is not the last thing we're going to do years down the road. You know what I'm saying? So I'm realizing that once you start a relationship, it has potential to be a lifelong growing thing. Even like my young students, I tell them, like, okay, yeah, you're 9 right now, but like, when you come back to me when you're 14, it's going to be like lit. Like, you just keep practicing this, and like, and then you see me when you're 17 for another 6 months, and like, I'll see you out at shows or whatever it is. Like, it's a lifelong relationship. Then I'll be able to pass you gigs, and then you'll be able to sub for me on the gig I can't make. And like, I'm realizing I'm showing my students how to make a living being a drummer, but being an artist, because I can't just drum, but I gotta teach, I gotta produce, I gotta make records, I gotta speak places, got to play a lot.
I'm actually curious about that. How does your income break down in terms of the different things that you do between, big pool being teaching, big pool being playing live, other miscellaneous things like?
That's a great question. I got some anchors, church definitely is a regular place that I've been holding it down. I teach through McPhail. Sometimes they have me in multiple schools, a couple days a week, you know what I'm saying? And then outside of that, it's the gigging, it's the freelancing. I do lessons, private lessons and group lessons pretty much out of my house. And then it's like the freelance gigging. It all comes together. And honestly, I got a lot of faith too. A lot of faith. Okay. And I make a nice living, bro. I make a comfortable living. I have one baby, a wife. I'm surprised. It's a miracle every month. And I say this all the time. It's a miracle that I get to do this as a job and I can still take care of business, but like the teaching and the playing and the recording, playing with this artist, and then like this special gig over here. Like, it's several different streams of income, several different jobs. You can't just be a drummer though, So this check came from doing this bucket class, this master class, or okay, now we traveled, did this gig here. It's coming from all over.
Do you think it's pretty well evenly spread out, or is the teaching like 70% and then the rest is 30%? The reason I want to get to that level of specificity is that if somebody's out there like, I'm a drummer, I'm killing it. But it's like, well, maybe you need to consider looking at how much more money can be made if you expand into this skill set as well.
The teaching would be 70% of it. Yeah, really. But no matter what the teaching is looking like, it always looks so different. I'm teaching kids how to be in a band.
Tell us about that. That's really cool.
Oh, that's like, you talk about relationships. A band is like the relationship vehicle right? It's just like playing on
It's
a
also
team.
the craziest type of relationship as bands.
It's lit. It's so many dynamics. Okay, it's like learning how to be cool, or like not speak over your partners, or okay, learning how to take criticism, or like when your idea isn't included, or if it got skipped over, or if it's like if you offend somebody coming back from that and on the road, it's like, bro, like you're only playing 1 or 2 hours out of the day. The rest of them hours you got to kick it. So it's just like teaching students how to just be, convey your idea, be creative, teach them how all the musical stuff is going to come, but like it's really relationship based stuff, how to speak to people respectfully, showing middle schoolers and high schoolers and young college students like that joke probably shouldn't be in this room. No, not that one. It's like, it's that kind of stuff that we're teaching. The music, of course, you're going to be learning that forever, but I keep circling back to the relationships.
Communication skills, though. I mean, most all bands break up. Most all of them, because they can't figure it out. Sometimes it's just a bad fit, or life changes and people go on different paths.
Or it's time to go, in a different direction.
A lot of them just can't stand each other because they can't figure out how to communicate effectively.
Or what about the bands who are the classic, rock and roll, big time, heavy bands that still don't get along, but they just gotta work together? You're like, you're on these tours, but you can't even ride in the same thing. You can't do the same because like y'all ain't talked to each other in 20 years. The only time you see each other is on the stage playing. Like, I don't want to do like that. I'm trying to be.
In their case, the damage might be done. It's like just not forgiveness at that point. But having better communication in the first place, that's huge. And that's cool that that's a thing that you're teaching. I've never heard people doing that before, of like how to be in a band.
Yeah, but it's like, it's really what I'm meant to do. That's through McPhail. And it's really, I've been doing it through a bunch of different places, but like McPhail, we got the Global Music Initiative at McPhail. McPhail is known for typically being the classical music. You hear Suzuki students learning, and it's very, but we're trying to really bring in more flavors musically. Global Music Initiative. Like, we're doing this huge show in February, and it's like every song is deep in the bag of the genre. Like, we don't do a punk rock song, it's like super fast, crazy punk rock song. Like, or we doing this Latin thing, it's like really involved, like a samba, like lit. You know what I mean? So we're really trying to bring the global music to McPhail, hip hop, jazz, rock and roll. Okay. And then we got earth music from all over, all kind of regions, some Native American, some African stuff. So yeah, we're trying to elevate it and really bring that college education experience back to the city, because so many schools have closed down in Minneapolis. IPR shut down just recently. McNally Smith closed down. There's a lot of young artists who could use some of this performance education that we giving out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's the new thing that's really popping with me at McPhail, is like the Global Music Initiative, teaching young artists how to be in a band, how to be an artist. It's going to keep the arts in our city thriving. It's passing it on to the
Absolutely.
youth,
Well, man, this whole conversation has been fantastic.
We've gone everywhere.
Yeah. I want to give you an opportunity just to tell people where to find your stuff, how to connect with you. Like,
Totally.
How would they get in touch or follow along?
I'm on Instagram as the Arthur B, and also as Big Homie Band. Oh, bighomiband.com. That's the website.
I'll put those links in the show
notes. Yes, bighomiband.com. You can find the schedule. You can support us. You find the music there, the footage, the videos, all of that.
What do you think are your secrets in terms of longevity, finding success? I do think that the education thing's something we talked about. I think that hanging in there, that was one of the first things we said to each other when we saw each other. Yeah, not stopping.
Just keep going. I think a common thread that, that we've been mentioning through the whole episode is working together. It doesn't have to be separate. I like the common theme you said about the show is like, you can do it all. You can do both things. You can do all those things. I would tell my students, like I told this one young lady, I was like, okay, if you like doing hair and doing makeup and nails and lashes and stuff, like you could definitely make that a hustle too. And the rapping can happen for you. Actually, you probably don't have to do both. You know what I'm saying? To make this really pop for you, you gotta, that's who she is though. She's an artist. She loves being expressive with boom, boom. Like, you can make all of this work for you. Like, it's going to develop, and you're going to get better and better. And like, you're going to be putting other people on. Consulting. You got to find whatever you do, you find your special niche, and all the things that you are interested in, they can work together to be your own specific artist. I think that's what I want to say. That's a common theme. And like the balance in each of those fields, like everything you do, they don't have to be separate. You can do it all.
Yeah. Making sure that it all works together, that the content you're putting out is going to help you grow and connect all of the moving pieces together to work towards one successful end goal. Thank you for sharing, LA, and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time, your stories, your advice, all of it. There's so much to learn from. Thank you for sharing. I'll throw all of LA's links in our show notes, and you can follow him online. Definitely make sure to check him out live, his band Big Homie. And for all of you that have listened and watched, thank you so much. I'll see you next time.